Hello peeps, JoJo here. 9 days ago, well, let me back up. About a month ago, I started having growing pain in my left groin area, severe. And backstory, I have rheumatoid arthritis, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, adrenal insufficiency, thyroid disease, all this. So anyway, I started having this weird pain in my groin, and so to the point where I could barely put weight on my leg. So I called my rheumatologist and I said, I think I'm having a flare. Can I have some steroids? No, they're going to send me to ortho. They think it's my hip. So I go to ortho, they x-ray, and they said, no, it's not your hip, it's your spine. I have a spine issue that will require surgery in the near future. But anyway, so they said, they gave me a dose pack of steroids, what I asked for to start with, and sent me home. And they started the process to try to get an MRI approved. 3 weeks it took to get approved. On Friday, the MRI was approved. On Sunday, I decided I would try to attend church with my husband. So I got dressed. All this time, I've been chair-bound, using a bedside commode. I could not stand to put weight on my leg because it was just too painful. But I got dressed and managed to get everything ready, and we were going to go. And he took my walker down the 3 steps into our utility room. He reached up to help me. I had one hand on a door casing. I lifted my left leg, put it on the top step, lifted my right leg, the left leg snapped. It broke while I was upright. And I immediately screamed, "It's broke, it's broke!" And as I was going down, and my husband had to ease me down to the floor as best he could. It was a terrible position. Hit my head on the door and went on down to the floor. Agony. All I was screaming was, "Call 911, call 911, it's broke, it's broke." And I thought my hip was broke, or either my hip was out of socket. That's all I could think of. I was sweating. It was terrible. Took forever, felt like. Firemen got there, and I was in such a position they couldn't hardly do anything with me. They don't give meds, and I said, "Where are they?" And what seemed like an eternity, the rescue got there. And to say it was a difficult removal from my house is an understatement. But they got me out. I give them props. And the little girl that was the EMS, she gave me pain meds. They did not help much at all. She gave me morphine, and every little bit, she kept looking at her watch, and she'd give me more, bless her. I was riding in that ambulance, and I said, "What is taking so long? Why?" Because I lived near the hospital, and I just couldn't understand what was taking it so long. Come to find out, they were just taking me to the trauma center in Charlotte. And I said, "What?" She said, "Yes, Monroe can't handle this trauma." And I was like, okay, I must have a trauma. So they get me into Charlotte Hospital, and they start doing what they do. Within about 5 minutes of being there, I was told I had a broken femur. I was shocked. And they undressed me. You lose all sense of modesty in the hospital. And cut off my favorite underwear, had to throw them away. So they got me stable. I was in agony, nothing. And they finally got my leg in traction. They put it in this yellow cardboardish contraption to hold my leg still, because up to that point I could feel it moving, which is not pleasant. And so they said they were going to send me to x-ray. They had done a portable x-ray. They wanted regular because they thought they saw something. Come to find out, my joint, the ball of my hip, also has a crack. 3 weeks I suffered. And 3 weeks, that's what was happening. It makes you wonder, could they have, in those 3 weeks, possibly prevented all this trauma? And yes, go ahead and put a rod in, whatever. I've been taking those medications that build bone where thigh fractures are a possibility. So, anyway, neither here nor there now. Sorry, I gotta have a drink. And, fortunately, I was able to stay on the stretcher for the x-ray. Well, then they come in and want to do a CT scan. I couldn't stay on the stretcher, and they had to move me with my broken leg. I want to tell you, I thought I had entered the darkest pit. The pain. They did it, got it over with. They were very kind to me. Then they had to get me back on the stretcher. Back in that little room waiting. I got to the Charlotte Hospital at by 10:15 or so. It was 10:30 at night before I was in my room. Rough day. Rough day. My poor husband and son. So then they come in. I was crying and shaking and couldn't breathe. And there was one nurse who was less than nice to me. Well, she thought she was being nice. She had to tell me about when she broke her leg, that she had a rod put in it without anesthesia, that she watched them do it. And she never would take a pain medicine because she's not one for medicine. And she said, oh, but I have a high tolerance for pain. She says she watched an operation because she wouldn't let them put her Anyway, all that did for me was make me feel like I was being a baby, number one, and that, I don't know, that I was making a big deal out of something that's not. And I cried. I'm crying now. I'm still emotional over it. And I started hollering for my husband, and he jumped up and held my hand. He knew the woman was getting on my nerves. And, you know, it was just, when I broke my leg, and I said, well, I have RA. She said, oh, I have RA too. Everything I had, she had. Everything I had happened to me, she had happened to her, and worse. But she did better by it because she didn't take medicine, and she didn't do this, and she's on nothing for her RA. She's on nothing for anything. So, that was my first day in that room. I was not impressed. Okay, so that was Sunday night to Monday. I was thinking, yes. Oh, I didn't finish. This one little fella came in. I think he was from Nigeria. That's what he said. He was so kind, and he told me, he put his hand on my arm. He said, I'm going to make you feel good. I went, how? How? And he took that yellow contraption off my leg, and then I felt something, but all it was like pressure. And then I kind of felt some relief. I said, what did he do? He had put my leg in traction, and those weights hanging down. That felt so good, and I thanked him so much for it. He did such a good job. After the traction, the only thing is, when you're that position, you can't sit up because it feels like my brake was so high, I was hitting it. So I had to lay flat. I have sciatica for that spine issue. Laying flat was not fun. I was awake and crying most of the night with sciatica issues and a weird burning sensation on my back that I didn't know what was. And I kept telling my husband, my back is burning, my back is burning. I said, feels like somebody has a lighter on it, or they're branding my back. They couldn't figure it out. Tuesday happens. I get to have my surgery, finally. They roll me over slightly. I have big water blisters on my back. They look on my leg. I have giant water blisters on my leg, and on my arm, and on my chest. I've developed an allergy or sensitivity to the adhesive on tape. At 58 years old, I developed this. So we've been having, I'm talking blisters that are that big and stuff, draining, big bubbles, draining on my back, on my leg, and they don't want things to get infected and stuff. So last Tuesday, I had my surgery. Everything went well. Took longer than they thought, about 5 hours. Got me in a room, and I've been in that room since. And today is Tuesday. I looked at my board, and I found out yesterday I get moved today to the Rehabilitation Center. I wanted to post this as kind of a diary of what goes on in recovery. I've been able to get up with this machine. They call it a sit-to-stand or something. It reminds me of a Segway without a motor. But I get in a standing position, and they roll me like to the bedside toilet or either to a chair, and back to the bed, of course. So that's all I've been able to do. I have been working out my upper body because they don't want to mess up my rotator cuffs. Well, but today I have a feeling things will become more active and doing more at rehab. I covet your prayers that my lungs will stay okay. I have had a little bit of issue as far as my adrenal insufficiency. Right after surgery, my blood pressure dropped some, and it continued. And at the pressing of my husband, they did decide that yes, I did need some more steroids. So I'm glad that I had my husband as an advocate for me, and that helped. Well, I'm going to get off. I've bent your ear long enough, but I do appreciate your prayers, and thank you so much. Y'all have a great day, peeps. Bye-bye.